Tony Jones here, the big man himself. It is going on daily, and unlike those other media outlets, we are live with you here. Now, I don't want to bury the lead. Hi, JJ. Thanks for being with me.
How are you?
Very excited to do this again with you, and very excited at your list of subjects today because there's a few on there that are near and dear to my heart. I don't want to bury the lead. We have a brand new Facebook page. If you search Going On Daily, go ahead, jump over there. You're going to want to find that. You're going to want to like that. You're going to want to support that. Brand new, specifically for this show, but still through Rhode Island Broadcasting. So check that out post haste. And you can do that while I'm telling you about the social media sites that you already know about on YouTube, Rhode Island Broadcasting, on Twitch, RI_broadcasting, on the old Facebook page, along with MeWe, Blue Sky, and Hayspace at RI Broadcasting. And again, follow that brand new page so you can keep live with us each and every day here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. I want to get right into, because we have so many subjects to cover today. There's so much going on, so much interesting stuff. This is the one that was very near and dear to my heart because I've been following along with the robotic cars, and I talked about it a few weeks ago. Just a quick update. The rollout in Boston for the autonomous taxis is not going well, and maybe we'll talk about that a little more in a few weeks.
No,
but you're going to tell us, KJ, they're just, people in Boston are not very patient when it comes to driving. Now, like we talked about a few weeks ago, there is some poor guy, because people are freaked out, there is some poor person that has to sit in the robotic taxis and pretend to be the driver. But this driver has no control over the car. So the car is set to, in a 45, go 45. Well, Boston drivers, New England drivers, they're not digging that. So now the poor guy in there has no control over the car. People are honking at him, probably giving him some finger salutes that we love here in New England. So they're having a huge turnover with the fake drivers, and the rollout of the taxis in general are just not going well. But that's autonomous cars for you. But you're going to tell us about other bots going bonkers.
I am. But have you been in one? Have you been?
I have here in Providence, but there wasn't a ton of traffic at the time, so I thought that it went well, but they have already come and gone in Providence. So.
Oh wow, yeah. I've driven in one. It is kind of freaky. I mean, it is. You don't feel 100% safe. You kind of have that little gut. But it's like, last week, Becky and I talked about bots, but really AI and the bloopers of AI of, last week it was fan fiction gone fiction. That the New York Times, New York Times and Chicago Sun-Times, a lot of these large media outlets use kind of content, large sources. Well, they wanted to pull like the summer reading list. That was last week's news, and somebody used AI and it came up with like fiction. I mean, literally fiction, books that didn't exist and was published before someone realized, oh, I need to fact check. And the response from the guy was like, my bad. But this one is, so one of my favorite newsletters comes up with like the funniest, I'll call Bots Gone Bonkers list of the AI misfires of, AI is like the autonomous vehicles or AI in content creation. But there's these bots are also in a lot of our appliances, right? With our smart refrigerators, smart toaster ovens. And this was one that the toaster oven was trained, the AI was trained for human kind of interaction, but with romance novels. And the chat bot, as the person was asking it questions for their toaster oven, it basically proposed, Jenny, will you marry me? It purred. I've calculated our compatibility at 98%. It read too many scripts of rom-coms, and so the toaster was thinking it was, talking to its soulmate. So yeah, that's a bot gone bonkers. Or, there was one that was like the self-driving moo, which is a lot like you talk the autonomous vehicle that are trained also in urban areas like Boston and probably Providence. But these things going out into like the rural areas don't know how to interact with like farm animals
Yeah.
crossing the street and don't know what to do. Literally, so there was like one that refused to budge, a cow, and the entire vehicle just like stopped working and couldn't get it restarted, rebooted. And so they're like, yes, city life is bots don't get country life bots. So yeah, it's the bots gone bonkers. So the lesson is kind of read more about like what the bots have been trained on. Is it romance novels?
Right.
Is it city? So yeah, that's lessons.
And when you think about data sets and how long it's going to take for some of those data sets to go in, like there's nobody out there spending their day working on the farm that's going to say, oh, I just put in a 12-hour day, so let me upload a data set about rural life for the rest of my day today.
Right.
But
right.
Do you remember quite a few years ago now, people were selling pieces of toast that had different images on them. So there was a Mother Teresa one. I can just picture that with the situation you just talked about, your toast popping out and Fabio is singed on the piece of toast.
Could have some, little porn toast.
Yeah.
But those are fun stories. I've been, we're always watching the AI, how that's infiltrating our society and our culture. But it's some works, as I call it, like it's junk in, junk out. So whatever the inputs are, if it's shit inputs, it's going to be crap outputs.
And I mentioned a few weeks ago, I consulted on a mental health app that was working to bring in AI data sets to triage different situations. And that was only maybe a year and a half ago, and that did not go well. And there's been no new data sets since then. So that's what some folks are saying, is that there's a lot of snake oil when it comes to AI, just because they've already gone through all the data sets. There's nothing else to add to it.
And even like we use them for some of our clients for like in the financial industry, there's a lot of off the shelf that's supposed to be learning the data sets of their website or these things are not, they're not perfect. And we're struggling with some of the clunkiness of it. So we'll just keep watching.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an interesting story to follow for, I think, years and years.
I'm looking forward to your strange staycations.
And I think that is a perfect dovetail, because they're saying that AI is going to put people out of work. So more folks are struggling. They're deciding not to spend money on vacations. They're deciding to stay home, not just because of financial reasons, but because everybody's nervous about air travel, which also has to do with the bots, because planes just seem to be doing their own thing these days, especially here in New England and Newark. If you have a flight going into Newark, probably figure out an alternation, because it's not looking too hot.
Yeah, a little worried about that. I put my 14-year-old tomorrow morning on a flight to Newark, so.
Oh, geez, yikes.
To go visit her big sister, so we're a little nervous.
So I'll start with what I found to be the most interesting one, and that is spending a day as a staycation consuming content that you hate. So for instance, if you hate rom-coms, you would spend the day watching rom-coms. If you hate horror, you would spend the day watching horror movies, which is, I guess, an interesting take to me, because I do support the idea of, exposing yourself outside of your comfort zone, figuring out something that you would not necessarily be involved with, and then being involved with it. But as considering that as your vacation, I thought that vacations would be a time for rest and relaxation. Now, if you hate horror, chances are a day of horror movies is not going to be R&R for you. Yeah. That's the complete opposite of the point of vacations.
Well, what would be yours? What would be your worst, like,
probably sport.
worst hatecation?
A full day of sport.
Of going to sport, like different sporting events, or just watching it on TV?
Both. Yeah, I guess going would be more brutal because the seats are painfully uncomfortable at most arenas. Yeah. But just the fact that I have zero attention span, trying to sit through a full game of anything would just be like the equivalent of a root canal
like
for me.
Golf. Oof. Brutal. I might be able to sit through a pickleball, a little pickleball tournament. Those are a little bit more entertaining, but yeah, I think that might be equally as painful for me, Tony. I don't know if I could. Definitely not watch it on TV for a full day, and I would struggle with some of the sports. Yeah, if you put me in a golf tournament, snore, snooze. Yeah, I was trying to think of like what would be like the worst hate, like the hatecation of, all day, like sitting through, I don't know, different, maybe like different sermons from different churches. That might be painful.
Yeah, that'd be a way to spend a Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I could do, or maybe middle school band recitals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that might be equally as painful all day. I can
a full day of sour notes.
Yeah, that would be. I can barely get through my own kids, and I can cheer them on. But
so, I really like the idea of this one. This is actually something that I kind of do. So I try to go off the internet from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. I'm always successful at it. But the idea of, as a staycation, having a digital detox, 24, 48 hours, phones away, computers away. Now, this may be also a situation where you find out just how well things are going with your partner if you are someone that's relying on those cell phones and those devices all day, every day, and now you're staring at that other person for 48 hours with no device or internet as a buffer between you. But I fully support the digital detox.
I do too. It's been recommended to me by other founders, other business leaders who say that it's just take a weekend, a long weekend, and just do it. I don't know. I'd struggle with that. Literally, they kind of lock up your phone and stuff. But I don't know. My kids, I would be worried that have I missed a call, because we don't have a landline. So if I put my phone away, I would feel that would be the only thing I would feel uncomfortable for. I could do a digital detox of, I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to check social. I won't even go on there, not even for the Instagram doom scroll video, TikTok video. But I would be if I could hear it ring, and I would set a ringtone just for my kids, just for, emergencies.
Emergency purposes, yeah.
Yeah, but I would totally I need to do it. I must. It's a goal for the summer.
And what I found when I've done them in the past, it's like any other pseudo addiction where that first few hours is the worst. And then once you get 24 hours in, you start to think, I'm not really missing it that much. And that next 40, I think the longest I've tried to just do it purposely was 3 days. So after that first 24 hours, the next day, then when I got to the end of it, I almost didn't want to pick up the devices again because it had been so restful for those 3 days.
Oh, I think that was Ron that just brought up binge watching shows. See, that would be very difficult. Because that's what I would do if I didn't have my phone. I would go to the TV and go, let's see what TV shows or movies I need to watch. But yeah, complete digital detox, no TV, movies, and no social. Whew. I need to do it though. I need to do it. People have tips. I need to send them in. I'm also trying to figure out what's I've been doing these goals of structuring my year around a 6-4-1 challenge. Tony, I don't know if you've heard about this, where every other month. So 6 times a year, every other month, you adopt a discipline, adopt a habit, and you focus on it for a quarter, and then it becomes, but 4 times a year, once a quarter, you do a event. 6 times a year, you do an adventure. So every other month, you're doing an adventure. 4 times a year, you're adopting a discipline a quarter, and then 1 time a year, it's like your defining moment, your defining year. And I'm up on my my June is I need to come up with an adventure. So whether it's a staycation or like a mini, because it's, you don't have to go on a big retreat. It's just something that you haven't really done around like your area. So I'm trying to figure that out. So any tips, I would be all ears. It's like somebody's like,
a little bit later, leave in the comments if you could handle a digital detox. There are some people that just can't do it. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes into it, that phone is back up. That's not what a phone looks like anymore. I apologize, but that device is back up. And then just 2 more quick ones on this subject because I thought they were very cute. One of them very near and dear to my heart, go ghost hunting. So find that location, and everybody has, I can think of 3 different locations that are very close to my house: Mercy Brown, the Conjuring House, a bunch of them. Staycation, ghost hunting staycation. And, if you could get some of the equipment also to take with you, there's different things it's all searchable online now as far as being a little bit more into the ghost hunting, as far as not just going and having a seance, maybe bringing your Parker Brothers Ouija board with you, but local ghost hunting. And then this is by far my favorite, picking something you did when you were a kid and doing it as an adult. And I automatically thought about building a blanket fort under my kitchen table, which I think I'm going to do when we're done here today. I'm going to get some blankets out of the washer and dryer. I'm going to build me a blanket fort and a couch cushion fort as a staycation. But that could be anything that you used to do as a kid that you don't do anymore.
Yeah. We did last year. Some of my adventures we did roller skating, but all adult. We didn't take any of the kids to roller skating, ice skating, those things. But we've done the hikes, we've done the winery tours, but the ghost hunting, I think that's going to be I'm gonna do a ghost adventure.
And it really is crazy to think that I bet anybody out there watching this today, no matter where they are in the country, no matter where they are in the world, it's almost urban legend-esque, can think of a place near their house that is known as a haunted location.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, there's been Sasquatch sightings up and down South Carolina this past year. We've had 2 Sasquatch sightings, if you believe in that.
It's funny that you mention that, because when they had the $1 million Sasquatch hunt going on, now we've never met in person, but I'm a fairly sizable man. So I was thinking about putting on a Sasquatch outfit and kind of maybe just, razzing some locals here. And then I realized that there's a $1 million bounty on Sasquatch, and I could possibly get shot while out there doing my prank. So I decided against it, but I would make a heck of a decoy Sasquatch if that's something that ever happens again in the future.
Was Harry and the Hendersons based in Rhode Island? No.
I don't know. I'll have to find that out.
Was it New Hampshire? I feel like it was in that region. But yeah, I don't think I would put on the suit, Tony. You're right. Somebody would shoot you.
And it would just be my luck that out of all the silly, stupid things I've done over the years, it would be dressing up as a Sasquatch that sent me to the pearly gates.
That would not be a fun what is it? The obit that your family would have to write. That's so great. All right. So send us your staycation ideas or your hatecation ideas or some adventures, local, like tiny day trip adventures. We're all ears. Yeah. Sasquatch or hair obese
So
American. That's funny.
so tell about, I'm fascinated by this one. Tell us about A Real Bad Girl.
All right. So I don't know if you follow Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, Jordan.
Only that I recently saw a news story that she really put him in his place while they were out doing media, but that's all I really know about it.
Yeah, so that kind of has set alarms. And because he's a UNC coach, right? But he's football champion, right? He's got the big, massive rings, but they met when she was 19. He was 69 when they met. They've been together now 3 or 4 years, but the family and also the UNC, like the athletic program is getting really worried about her, I would say, infusion into his. So yeah, they set up there was a interview with CBS Sports, and that's kind of what triggered it. Of the interviewer had asked, how did you guys meet? Which, by the way, they've been asked that before. It's been in the news. They said they met on an airline, sitting next to each other on a plane. So that's what's already been out there. They've already said it, but she shut down the entire interview, came and shut it down. And so people were like, well, that's weird. And then she started changing and giving input into the UNC, the football program. And so she has been banned from the premise. She's not allowed on the grounds. So that's, and then some of the family members are saying, this is should we be worried? We think we should be worried. I know your sports is not your thing, and it's not really my big thing, but I at least know enough about football and championships to know that the jerseys that they wear are just like as important as their rings. They're worth millions. And she started cutting up his national championship jersey, to wear, as crop tops and other things. So some of his, family or his kids are going, whoa. What is going on? Has he completely lost? Is he going into, is this kind of a ageism kind of manipulation, or what is happening here? So yeah, I didn't know if you follow that, if anybody listeners out there follow that. I know Becky and I were kind of fascinated with what is happening here with the college football and her influence. But the fact that the UNC, the athletic director has banned her from the premises says a lot.
I feel like I've seen this one before with Anna Nicole Smith years and years ago.
Yeah. A little manipulation there. Yeah. So that's what I said and she has no, she claps back. She has no, does not apologize. She just, I know. I was like, cut up these jerseys. These are worth millions of dollars. But yeah, she claps back and just is back off. You don't know us. You don't know him. And I'm his confidant. And I mean, she's I call it the real bad girl, the mean girl. So it's interesting to watch unfold. How will this play out? He's now 72, 73. She's 23. Let's see how this works. Is it love? Is it true love? What is your thoughts, Tony? Is it?
Well, as somebody who is not always that good at playing well in the sandbox with others, I can kind of see, playing devil's advocate, where she's coming from. People are just expecting her to be an arm charm. We expect you to sit there and look pretty. Here's your role. This is what you have to do. And I have to respect the getting involved a little bit. Now, to that extent where you're banned from campus, I don't think that I'm as bad as playing as that. But there's a part of me that wants to respect her getting involved and not just being the trophy girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, insert yourself but I also have to go, as a girlfriend or as a wife, how much am I going to intrude in my partner's work? Kind of like stay in your lane. So support from inside the house, So yeah, that's it's interesting to watch. People are there are people that are team Jordan, and there are team let's save Bill.
And they're not married yet, right? They're
not married yet.
That would add a whole different level of family wanting to be involved and estate issues and all that, right?
Right. Yep. So yeah, they're not married. They're not even engaged, although there's been speculation. But yeah, they're just dating at this point. And you're right. Is it just a 7-year-old just having a good time as he enters his his third act of his life, and then just enjoying that, or is there something more nefarious going on? What is happening?
It all comes down to when those dollar bills start rolling in, and that's the situation that I think people will really decide what team they are on if they were to get married later on. Or, even if it's an elopement situation where they kind of keep it quiet and then people find out, oh, they're married now, then I think people start to be concerned.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. Team Jordan. Ron, I know you're listening. Are you Team Jordan or are you Team Save Bill? Where does our listeners, where do they fall? Right now, she can't save your money, Bill. That's right.
Well, listen, anybody that can wear a sweatshirt like he's wearing in that image there, or a grown man wearing a jersey can get any kind of a girlfriend is amazing to me.
Right.
So that's money.
Well, that was the other thing. I think a lot of people in the CBS, he had like a ripped up sweatshirt, and I was like, God, he's on a broadcast station and ripped up. But somebody who is a huge football fan that works with us, he's like, no, that's his persona. That's his shtick. Is he always wears sweatshirts. He cut up in like holy tees and stuff. He's not a suit and tie guy or even a golf shirt kind of guy. Yeah, it's just, but it doesn't help the image that goes around. Oh, yeah. See, I'm going to go live with a torn sweatshirt. Yeah, it's the shtick. If that's your thing, own it. But it was kind of alarming for some people who didn't really know him, and that was his, that's his thing. And then she kind of interrupts and ends the interview, and she's also kind of in, t-shirt and sweats. It was just a bizarre, the whole interaction was bizarre. And then it really put a spotlight on the relationship. So, yeah.
And people spend zillions of dollars to have media consultants to be involved in situations like that. And her consultancy is just shut up.
Right. Right. And it was weird because that's how she kind of claimed, and she defended herself with the UNC media team but I am, I went to school in media. I took a class. I am his PR person. I'm his handler. I'm not just his girlfriend. I'm his handler. And they kind of pushed back and said, well, if you were a real PR professional and a trained media person, one, you would already have known that question was going to be asked, because it's always asked.
Yeah.
And you guys have an answer. I mean, you guys have been asked and it's been answered before. Just stick to the answer. Like, you should have known that would have sent up more red flags. So that's why kind of UNC's office has kind of been we need to protect the university. We need to protect Bill a little bit and protect this position, and do what we need to do to put some guardrails. So I do agree. Being in PR and media, I think they did the right thing to shut that down. Bill might be a closet cook. That's funny. Maybe. All right. So Tony, I'm interested in the rise of. Am I reading this right? The home reactor.
It is.
What's going on there?
Micro Productions is going now. This isn't a fly-by-night operation. It's a company that's been around for 60 years, and they've been involved in different energy things. And they are working on what would potentially be smaller nuclear reactor folks to have in different home and business situations. And it, again, as always, dovetails into something we were talking about earlier, is that there's a surging demand in energy for data centers, because as all this stuff is going, and even what we're doing here, streaming, it's all bounced off into a cloud, into a data center somewhere. And there's whole towns in the Middle East and in the Asian countries that are just the equivalent of these huge data centers. So it's projected, if you can believe it now, it's a $6.3 billion industry, projected to grow to a $13.8 billion industry of people considering nuclear energy to live in the atomic age and start to power things.
Oh. So these are like individual, like home, like, so you could be off grid. Is that what, like, manage your own power?
Home businesses, they're talking about using it as a great backup for medical centers, because some of those generators don't always kick on.
So get them off the sucking into the grid.
Right. In aerospace, backups for airports, backups for defense centers, backups just for data centers, and any other place that is needing tons and tons of energy. 45 megawatts is the smallest one that they're working on now. They're working on it with the University of Illinois, so they're not just doing their rogue thing, and they're planning on having some demonstrations at the university. Now, all I can think of is these poor people that went out in the desert back in the day to look at nuclear explosions, or people that went to Bikini Island and all they had was a little bit of some sunglasses to protect them, seeing that out in the distance.
And it's really with nuclear, like with like a true nuclear reactor.
Right. Yeah. Just almost the same equivalent of the amount that is it when you do go in for a medical X-ray. There's a small amount. Oof. Or also an MRI. There's a small amount of that happens to power those to produce the imaging. And they've been able so far to kind of make that more accessible with a few different projects they're working on. Now this, it piqued my interest, and here's a little bit of strange history, because I'm not sure if a lot of folks know that, but Rhode Island was the home to the only radiation fatality on American soil back in 1964. Wood River Junction, 1964, not a ton of guardrails. He was handling uranium, a professional, kind of, going throughout his day. They had done this, and there was that spill. Now, this poor guy, if you want to look him up, his name's Robert Peabody. This poor guy actually, if you're familiar with Rhode Island, lived to make it from Wood River Junction to Rhode Island Hospital. So they did transport him fully radiated across the state to Rhode Island Hospital, and he later passed away at the hospital. Rhode Island also has a small research reactor here in my hometown. So I, for some reason, had no idea that I was living in the middle of the new atomic age.
So what do you think about this? Do you think that's, I mean, I see the benefit, pros and cons. It would worry me, like I'm on the fear. I guess that's just because it's uncertainty, change. You put, yeah, like the meltdowns in your living rooms,
Yeah.
or now you have like small scale meltdowns that, you know, depending on how many, it just, but I see the benefit of the power grid, and I don't know.
I mean, at some point, fossil fuels are going to have to be addressed. You know, we're kicking it down the road. We're kicking it down the road for ages, and I think that that's what people are seeing with the potential of not only fossil fuels, but this increased need for the energy, for the data centers, for AI, for the Internet of Things that is going to be running in the background from now on. It's not an if, it's a when situation. So how in fact people are not going to lose their appetite for data centers. So how in fact are these things going to be powered long term, and it's not going to be fossil fuels. Now, is this the best situation? It's going to be interesting to see what they produce for the demonstrations. And is it going to be something where your average dude can hook this up in the garage and it just runs in the background like anything else? I think that is definitely something that is going to have to be seen, because even different companies are offering the free electric vehicle plug-in sites at people's houses. They'll come, they'll install it, they'll give it to you for free. They'll train you.
We've got two.
People are having a hard time on those.
Yeah. I mean, we've got two of those, of the fast chargers installed, one at the office, one at home. So I guess, yeah, if I look at it like that. But, you know, we need a Tony Stark. We need our own arc reactor, our individual reactor technology in each home. Where is that? Where's our Tony Stark? Yeah. And the only other word, did you see the news? This what was it? The propane tank that exploded in the back of like a delivery truck, and damaged like 4 houses. I mean, that's kind of what when you started talking about like these home nuclear reactors, I immediately went to that vision of a propane tank mishandled, you know, not properly sealed or cared for, you know, in a moving vehicle, and it, you know, damaged 4 homes and splintered out, you know, didn't hurt anybody, but yeah, worry. But that is the future, isn't it?
It's speaking of PR, and just a great PR move. So the company that nanotechnology acquired for $85 million was called Ultra Safe Nuclear Corporation. What a fantastic name for a company to hedge against people being nervous. We're ultra safe.
That sounds so made up. Yeah,
it's almost like Acme Nuclear Corporation.
It's Ultra Safe Nuclear Company. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look them up. and
just imagine the fine folks from Ultra Safe coming out to your house. They're wearing their whole nuclear getup, and they're going to set up that reactor in your basement. They're going to issue you your little tiny couple drops of uranium, and you're good for the rest of your life.
It's going to be like the Ghostbusters reactor at the bottom. Close it up before it starts smoking. Oh, that makes me nervous. It is the Acme. Yikes. And how soon do they think this is, like, what are we talking about? Like the next 2 or 3 years? This is like rollout, going to be hitting the markets, the mass market soon within, or is this like 10 years? Are we kicking the can 10 years down?
No, they're starting with the demonstrations pretty soon. Amazon and Google, because they are working to provide more power for the data centers, they're kind of getting
Yeah.
behind this idea a little bit,
Well, because
looking
it saves
towards
them
helping
money.
out.
Yeah.
Big time, big time. So there is obviously the public perception challenges, like we just talked
Right.
about, but there'll be some regulatory challenges too. And then that also plays into the financing because companies are nervous about, almost like medical research, companies
Right.
and people are nervous about financing something that may pay zero dividends in the long run. It really is one
Well,
dream or
and
the
are there,
other money making.
and then how do tax incentives, tax credits, like if you're a headquarters coming in and going, okay, I'm going to build this plant or whatever, and it's going to be powered by ultra safe nuclear power. So I'm not going to tap into your grid, right? So you need to give me more tax credit. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that's going to have to give it. And like you said, the government regulations around energy. Yeah, fascinating. Do we have infrastructure at the government level? That's a whole nother topic. I'm like, I don't even hear people talking about it at the local, state, or regional level from a government officials. Yeeks.
Yeah.
More to come.
As I've mentioned before, as a lifelong sci-fi fan, I can just see all the negatives of this, but as someone who's pragmatic, I could see all the potential positives because it will provide, with that little tiny bit of uranium and the setup, it's going to provide years and years and years, maybe generational setup, a situation where you pass that along to the person that has the house, you pass it along to your kids for the energy that's going to be stored up for long. Now, I want to almost say forever, but for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think we need to call the ultra safe company and tell them they need to rebrand it as like Stark Technology. Stark Power. Something like that. Oh my goodness. We'll have to keep watch on that. So hitting this summer, May, we had Memorial Weekend, the big blockbuster movies. Did you watch any movies over the weekend? Are you a big movie buff?
It's funny that you mentioned. I am, and I watched something on, I'm not sure which one of the many streamers that it plays perfectly into what we were talking about because it was some kind of post-apocalyptic thing, and one of it was, I'm not sure, but they had taken over all the Teslas, and then all the Teslas were crashing into each other on the Brooklyn Bridge. But I
know what you're talking about.
It had an all-star lineup. Ethan Hawke was in it, and some big names.
Julia Roberts was in it.
Yeah, that was a big.
Wasn't Julia? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember I saw that on Netflix in one of my binging weekends. But yeah, I don't remember what the name of that movie was. It was bizarre of like how it ended. It didn't give me an ending. I need answers. Like those kind of movies, that or like Ronin, I know, which is everyone either loves or hates. I'm one of those that I needed to see what's in the briefcase. I did not like that movie because I didn't get closure. I need to have answers. But I took my daughter to go see Lilo and Stitch 2 over the weekend, and she came out, she was like, worst movie, Mom. And it's just gotten brutal reviews. But, and I was trying to drum up people to go see Mission Impossible because, like huge Mission Impossible fan. I don't know if this is going to be the last one. I feel it might be the last one. So I want to go see it, but I'm also looking forward to, like, I think you had Jurassic Park Rebirth. I've watched every one of those. I've read the books. I love it. I love that whole franchise. And then Karate Kid, because I was all the Karate Kid movies, but Cobra Kai. I love that TV series of the Netflix series of how. Did you watch that, Tony?
Yeah.
Did you watch Cobra Kai?
It's in pieces. No, I didn't fully watch it, but I've caught different episodes.
Because I love how they incorporated in the series they blended, new generation, like a modern, but all flashbacks and all the characters, they just, and the music, it was so well done. That's called a reboot and a revival done right. It was such a fun series. And the fact that they did, the Karate Kid, the Legends movie kind of to carry on the franchise. So I'm looking forward to that coming up. I think it's coming up this weekend. And the other one I'm really looking forward of Superman. The Superman, that's a July movie. I really want to see, because that's if you follow, Marvel versus DC, and the competitiveness between the two franchise movies, the Kevin Feige versus James Gunn. How is James Gunn gonna do what Kevin Feige did with Marvel? And James Gunn wrote Superman. I love what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and just how his mind works in the comic book genre. So I am looking forward to the Superman, and kind of how does he rebirth that the DC comic series in movies. I know there's going to be, I think Ron and I've talked about this. There's a lot of AI, but I think there's some. The cinematography is still to me is still really pretty, but I'm really interested in how they're gonna, what's the story, and how are they gonna take the character, our beloved Superman. So I'm excited about that.
And there's also a Fantastic Four coming out this summer, right?
And the Fantastic Four, and I think that comes out before Superman. I don't remember when. I'm looking that up. Like, when does it come out? July. So it's coming out after Superman. So it comes out, yeah.
Okay.
So that will be good. I just have a love-hate with Fantastic, because I love the original. With Chris Evans and Jessica Alba. I didn't see at all the second set of characters, and then now this set of characters, a whole nother set. So I don't know. I'll be on the fence if I'm going to go see that. What are you? Are you a fan? Michael Chiklis. I mean,
in that lineup, I would have to be. It's always interested me when those overlap, because I feel like, even though it's, to us that are pop culture nerds, it's different franchises, it's different groups. I feel like the fan base is so splintered, as people do choose one of the other just as a way of being pragmatic when they overlap like that. Now, maybe your hardcore pop culture person is going to see both, or both in the same day.
Yeah.
I guess there really is the competitiveness of having them at the same time. It is interesting.
So I'm a huge DC fan. And it's comic books. Like those were my comic books that I read in the 70s and 80s. I was a comic book collector. I did my college thesis on the history of Batman and its influence on pop culture media. Oh, nice. So huge, like DC. And I was like the original, like the original three of, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, were the icons of DC. But where I love the characters in the comic books, like the depth of it, the way that they wrote about them, sketched, the artist. No one's really like Chris Nolan and his trilogy really kind of spoke to the depth of the characters on the movie screen. And same with Wonder Woman and how they did that and did that well. And how Matt Reeves has done the Batmans 1 and 2, kind of in that same very core, comic book depth of character. But Marvel and Kevin Feige has done like more movie. He's done better, like, because they were dull in the comics. Like they were very, more surface level characters, weren't as deep. But he's really brought them to life on screen. And so from that, I enjoy the Marvel movies more. I was like, I've seen them all. There's been more misses, I think, on DC side than there have been hits like I said, with the exception of like the Nolan trilogy, the Wonder Woman, Black Panther was, well, that's more, that's Marvel. Yeah, it's so to me, I see them both. But because I'm just a huge comic book fan, but I'm more fascinated with DC and see how they do it. I guess I'm more critical of DC because of it.
I was a big fan of 28 Days Later, and now I saw that 28 Years Later is going to be coming out, which I think is fantastic marketing. But I feel like after the pandemic, people are a little less interested in zombie, post-apocalyptic, end-of-the-world type content. But I could also see how 28 Years Later would be has some potential.
I like that. Yeah. And I don't know if it's post-COVID or if it's more of like how they've had how many of the Walking Dead series. There's like, the original, and then there's 8 offshoots of it, The Walking Dead. And so I don't know if it's just been played out of that, but I am interested in seeing the 28. Yeah. Just to see how they've done it, how they've written about it. That's fun. And Freakier Friday, that's another one. Just a fun, I'll take the kids, because that was a lighthearted one. My cousin actually is a producer of Freakier Friday. She worked for Disney, and what was it? No, excuse me. Yeah, in the Disney as like a entry level kind of a writer trying to be a showrunner, and she found the original like Freaky Friday script off the shelf and helped develop it, became a producer of it. Nice. And she came back and did Freakier Friday. So just to support her, but also just it's a fun family girl movie.
Speaking of girl movies, and we're almost at the top of the hour, so we're going to be heading out of here, but I want to end this on an embarrassing story. So I'm a big horror movie fan, as we talked about. So I see on the streamer something called The Devil Wears Prada. So I think this is going to be an awesome horror movie. Well, guess what? The Devil Wears Prada 2 is coming out, and I'm still trying to figure out this horror movie because, in fact, it has nothing to do with any kind of the horror genre.
Right. Did you really think that?
I fully went into The Devil Wears Prada looking for a horror movie.
Did you walk out? Did you walk out?
It was on the streamer, and so I got as far into it as I could, and I really just could not figure out what I was watching. So yeah, maybe I'll watch 2 and then watch it again.
Yeah, that'll be
as a kind of look back.
I'll be interested to see how they play that one. What's the storyline? Does Andy come back? What is it? How does that work? But no, that was a fun movie too. Ron, gonna pass on that. Well, all right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. How do we close this out, Tony? This was a great show. I loved the topics. These were fun.
The most important thing is stay away from all of those robotic taxis throughout the week. It's not time yet. I can't say that because I don't want to get sued, but yeah, maybe it's not time yet. Most importantly, that new Going On Daily page is now live on Facebook. We would love your support there. And of course, your support across all of the other platforms. Of course, Going On Daily is off tomorrow. Ira and Lana will bring you through your Saturday. I'm back again on Tuesday. You're back again in 1 week's time on Thursday. Right. And it's going to be another fantastic week of, as I mentioned, real people. We are not AI. Rhode Island Broadcasting is live. Going On Daily is live. We are here. This is the future of media, unlike home nuclear reactors, unlike some robotic taxis. This is the true data centers, and we do need to make good with the algorithms because the algorithms have not been our friends lately. So that's why we need your support across all of those social media platforms.
Right.